to about a foot in size in the pond? Because you see, in the fishbowl, the koi fish didn't have to do a whole lot. In the fishbowl, the koi fish was fed every day, and the water was cleansed every so often. But the moment you put the koi fish into the pond, the water is deeper and therefore it is colder. And there are other species out there attempting to devour some seafood for lunch. And so the koi fish has no choice but to expand, grow, become more energetic, defend itself, and survive. That's the lesson my mother taught me. That in spite of wherever you might be, there's always a better tomorrow, if only you're open to it. My mother would say something like this. What you choose is what you do. So quit your complaining. Why are you whining? You know, some of us whine about the people we married. Who made us marry them? We stood there and said, I do. And then we start complaining about 6 months later. It's just the way it is. What you choose is what you get. I got to tell you about my friend Jack. My friend Jack, you're not going to believe this story. My friend Jack has been married 8 times. The last time Jack got married, we all printed bumper stickers that said, "Hunk if you've been married to Jack." Never seen so much noise pollution in a city in your life. And you know what? I'll bet you do what I do. I get up every morning and I have a to-do list. I go to my office and I check the stuff off one after the other. I'm proud of myself that I got the stuff done on my to-do list. Life is not about to-do lists. The longer I live, and I hope slightly the wiser I become, the more I realize life is not even about success. We've been cheated. Telling us that life is, if you're successful, you'll be happy. That's not necessarily true. Happiness comes from within. Happiness comes from the soul. Happiness comes from passion. Passion comes from doing something you care about, something purposeful, make a difference, pave the way for somebody else, get satisfaction that it did really matter that you crossed this path of life at all. And so it's not about to-do lists. I think life is about to-be lists. Not to-do lists, but to-be lists. Life is not about transactional stuff. Life is about transformational matter. That's why I've been excited to be with you today. You are in the business of being, becoming. You are in the business of to become. No parent, no family would hire an independent consultant just because it's nice to do or fun to do. They love that child. And they want that young man or woman to become all God ever intended for them to become. Enter the picture. You. Wow. Wow. So that's what my mother said. Now let me tell you a little secret about to-be list. You can't have a to-be list unless you also have a stop doing list. See, we've been taught by time management experts to have to-do lists. No one has ever told us we should also have a stop doing list, because you cannot become something unless you stop doing something. And so there was my mother, 4th grade education. Death of my dad, turning point. You are in the business of turning points. 4 years ago, I was going to become the chairman of the board of High Point University. I am a proud graduate of High Point, and I was looking forward to become the chairman of the board of trustees. You'll forgive me, but I came to America as an immigrant. I was sitting in the back seat of a car in Chicago the other day. The driver of the car asked me, he said, "Sir, you have an accent. Where are you from?" Why, I said, "I am from the country of Lebanon." He said, "That's amazing." He said, "You're the second lesbian I've had in this car." Now look, I came to this country with very few words of English, with 50 bucks in my pocket and no connection. I attended a tiny little school called Mount Olive College for my first years in Mount Olive, North Carolina. And it took me years to figure out why would they accept a guy who had no money, couldn't speak in English, and then it dawned on me. They figured I'm from the Holy Land, this was a Free Will Baptist school, and they thought, what if this guy's the Messiah? Now it took them about 2 months to figure out I was no Messiah. But nevertheless, they loved me, and they helped me, and then I transferred to High Point. And so you have to understand my journey just a little bit to understand what forms a human being. We are not formed entirely by our intellect. Much of our intellect is hereditary. We're formed quite often by our societal influences, by the folkways and the mores that we choose to adapt or adopt. We're formed by the people we know and the environments and the circumstances in which we find ourselves and the choices thereof that we partake. And so I'm a product of my journey.